So I've entitled this podcast Loose Ends because there's just a bunch of odds and ends that I wanted to talk about today. And first thing, I've talked about the fact that the SWFA Ultima driving around, that video got compressed. And it does say, YouTube always compresses upon upload, but that's not the compression that I'm talking about. I did some research. I looked back in my notes, and it got compressed to a point where I couldn't see a lot of the words in November of 2017. And so, which was like 9 months after I had first seen the video of the Ultima, but that was like a year and a half after the video came out. So this is how I think the compression happened that I'm talking about. But it doesn't inherently degrade the already processed versions over time unless codecs change or storage is reallocated. I think that's what happened in November of 2017, is that they just needed to reallocate some storage, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is the video, and this is the 731 mark. 4 frames in from the 731 mark is when you can see his name clearly written, Darlick, written on, you can see kind of the blurry version of it right now, but you can see it on the back of the car. Now, once upon a time, when I would click through these frames, using the less than or greater than symbols, they will go through a video frame by frame. So let me begin. So I'm going to just start hitting forward. So 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that one skipped 3 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also skipped 3 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That one skipped 10 frames. So once upon a time, though, every time I went forward, it was a different frame. They had to have uploaded it in 4K because there were high resolution frames, but each one of them had a frame. They weren't. You didn't never skip any. So that's what I mean by it being compressed, and a lot of the words that you could clearly see before, you just can't see anymore. And so because a lot of the frames have gotten skipped now, you just can't see it. But I did take a picture of the most important frame, which is this one, my Darlick's, my poor Darlick's truck frame. And I wanted to point something out that's interesting. Hopefully, if you spend some time with this, you'll find it interesting as well. But there's actually 4 Y's, the letter Y, that we can still see even now. This is the first one, the Y. And if you notice, all 4 of the Y's that I'm going to point out, the Y's are closed, meaning they complete the Y. Now, I don't close my Y's when I make a Y, but she does. So that's our first Y. Now, all of these Y's are closed, but they're closed much more lower. This is, right here is the word happy, for happy birthday. That's the P. This is a Y. And if you look really closely, this Y is closed toward the bottom of the Y, but it is still closed. This is another Y in birthday, also closed. Again, get out a magnifying glass. I mean, you certainly aren't going to see it if you're on your cell phone. So if anything, you need to have this on your big screen TV or at least a computer. And even then, you need to get out a magnifying glass to see what I'm talking about. But this Y is also closed, again, more toward the bottom than the top. And then our final Y is this one right there. This is a Y from the word Kelsey. And I know you can't see the word Kelsey across there. It was a different frame. Back in the day, I had a lot of frames to study from. Now I don't, and so I have to go off of, what I have access to. And so I know you can't see the word Kelsey, but you can see the Y. If you study this very carefully, you can see that that's the letter Y, and it's also closed more toward the bottom of the Y than like the first one I showed. So yeah, these three are identical essentially to each other, and the first one's a little different. It was closed at the top of the Y, but at least there's 4 different letters, well, the same letter, but 4 examples of the same letter that you could study if that's something you want to do. All right, so the next topic I have is the vest. Now, this is Daniel. He's got his blue jacket on, got a t-shirt, wearing a t-shirt. You can even see his nose if you look carefully right there. You can see he's wearing the balaclava mask, and this is his face. But you can see his nose, and wearing his helmet. But he's not, I don't believe he's wearing his vest. It was just too bulky to have on in the car. So I think he took his vest off, and I think this could be it. Now, you can see the back seat is all kind of lit up right here. So I don't think it's just a shadow. This is the edge of the back seat, and you can see the seat just fine, but it's very dark right here. Now, I do realize you can't see the word police on the vest, and you should be able to. You should be able to see at least some light from that. And so that's the only thing that makes me think maybe that's not his vest. But they were, Velcroed patches, and so he could have taken the Velcro off in case he got pulled over or something. He didn't want to show police on there. But I can't imagine that not being the vest, because again, that's probably where he would put it in the back. And it kind of looks like it has, like this would be the top of the vest. Again, that's not definitive, but I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. But this is very clear that you can see that this is a guy in a blue jacket with a white t-shirt on, wearing a balaclava mask with this helmet on. I mean, to me, that's really clear to see that that's Daniel, as he's, sitting in the church just waiting to he could actually, from where he was parked, he could look in his river mirror and stare at the church at the time. And he was just watching to see if cops showed up. And because he had already broken into the church, and they had they know from the timestamp that that's what happened, and then he went back to the church, and like, what was it, 17, 19 minutes later, something like that. They have him on. They don't have him on camera, but the camera gets triggered. All right. Next topic. So some people have said they think that this guy's wearing black shoes. Now, here's the thing. Brown shoes can appear to be black in the shadows, but black shoes cannot appear to be brown in the light. So it only goes one way. And so these are his shoes in the light, and you can see they're brown. And notice the shape. Very distinctive shape. They look just like these. Well, because they are these. I know they are. I have no doubt about that. Let's continue. Okay, again, brown shoes. They can't look brown if they're black. And the shape identical to Daniel's. Now, granted, once he gets here, yeah, I agree. Those look black. But he's in the shadows. All right. Now, I lived in Texas for 5 years, and so I kind of got a feel for what Texans are like. And in Texas, they very much respect churches. And Texans are raised with this respect. And I knew from the beginning that this was not a Texan. A Texan would never go in and just destroy a church, just because they just have too much respect. They're taught to respect churches. And so it really makes sense that this is someone from Europe, because Europeans really aren't taught to respect religions or churches. And so when I realized that this guy is from the Czech Republic, it made a lot more sense, because Texans would not do this. They just have too much respect for churches. And so the fact that that Daniel is from the Czech Republic kind of made sense. All right, the next topic is the collar of his jacket. Now, this is the same jacket that Daniel was wearing in the church. And if you notice, his collar's kind of flipped up right here. Now, I'm not saying it's flipped up while he's in the church. It might be. But notice it's kind of really light in color right here. And the underside of his collar's very light. Now, again, I'm not saying that I know that's flipped up. I've looked at it. I don't know that, if his collar's flipped up. But it it now keep in mind he's got a vest on. This is the collar. This is not part of the vest. And I can't tell if it's flipped up or not, but it's possible that it is. So I don't know. Anyway, it's just something to look at. Um, okay, next topic is 24 STR markers. Typically, they use these 24 markers. You know how a crypto password, mine uses 12 words. Some of them have gone to 24 words. And so it's a similar concept. You know, if you can get 24 words in a row correct, then, you know, you kind of hard to just guess that. That's the guy's password. And so the same's true with a person. If you can get 24 of these correct, there's like 1 in a trillion chance that it's someone else. So how this works, this short tandem repeat, these are like Tana boxes. They're in between genes. They're like the dead zone with not useful information. Well, useful for identifying people, but it's not. They're not part of the gene. They call them Tana boxes, but basically what they are is these DNA pairs that repeat over and over again. This is an example where it goes AGA, TAG, ATA, GAT. So if it just repeats, maybe yours repeats 7 times and mine repeats 15 times. So you would be basically given the number 7 on that marker, and I would be a 15. And so there are 24 different markers that they get a number off of, and that becomes pretty identifiable. Now, we know that that the police got partial DNA off of, I guess, a tool. And so let's say instead of 24 markers, let's say they only got 10. Well, 10 is still pretty significant. If you get 10 numbers that you have to get correct in a row, that's pretty telling. Now, keep in mind, so Daniel would have all 10 of them correct. Daniel's dad would likely only have share about 5 of those numbers because of crossing over. His mom would, have 5 of the same. His dad would have 5 of the same. And so I'd be willing to stake my reputation that Daniel's dad will have 5 of the same markers, because I know it's Daniel. I've proven it. There's like 1 in a trillion chances that it's not him. When you consider his birthdays on the car, he's got the same jacket. Daniel's got this exact same jacket, this blue jacket. Ask yourself, do you have this blue denim jacket that's just like this one? I don't. Did I just get lucky that Daniel happened to have this same jacket and those same shoes? Was that just luck that his birthday is exactly the same? That he walks. I predicted that he would walk like the guy in the church, and he does. I mean, at some point you have to question. Okay, um, this can't just be coincidence. All of these things. Now, I will say one thing about the birthday. Um, like this one says he was born in May of 1983, but there was another information provider that said he was born in April 5th of 1983. And so I'm not 100% sure about whether he's born in April or May. But regardless, I didn't know if it was a 4 or a 3 or a 5. I didn't know that number to begin with. But I'm starting to question whether the April is actually correct, because that would have meant a couple weeks before the murder, Kelsey would have written on his car, and the ghosting would have been rather fresh. And that makes more sense, to be honest with you, that it had somewhat fresh writing, because the stuff, as you wash your car, it fades, the residue that gets left behind. And like I say, I've had experience with this. I know what it looks like, but because it was so easy to read, it makes me suspect that he was born in April, not May. Because if he was born in May, that would have been, she would have written on the car after the murder, and so it would have been another, 11 months before the SWA footage was made. But it makes more sense that it was like 2 weeks before that footage. So I don't really know. I can't be for sure. I guess what I'll do is, he's 42, and I'll just check all the information like when he turns 43, and if it's in April, if I see most of them have him turning 43 in April, then I'll know he was born in April. But regardless, I got 4 out of the 6 numbers correct, the zeros and the 83, and so that proves to me that that's this Daniel Darlick. This is the guy that drove the car, and the other things. There's just no way. There's no way he's happened to wear the exact same shoes that have padding, the exact same thickness as Daniel's. There's just no way it can be anyone else that has the exact same jacket, that's the same height, that I could go on and on, that walks like the killer. There's absolutely no way it could be anyone else. So someday, I think once this lead investigator, who's been on the case for the last nearly 10 years, he's a little closed-minded. He just doesn't think that it could possibly be the case that there's writing on the car. Once he's gone, I think there will be an investigator that will be open-minded enough to at least look. If they just even went through the video, I've shown them where they could find this image it's the fourth frame in from the 7:31 mark. Now, the 7:31 mark on the YouTube video, so which is right. This little light is lined up on this little line. So it's the fourth frame in from this. I've showed, and in one day they can have this solved, because they would find this image, and they would see this writing. I guarantee you, I haven't fabricated this. This is on the original footage. And once they see this, then they'll look for the other things. It says born, right here. It says born, and then 04. I know I can't even see a number here, but or 5, whatever it is. I can't see it. Now this one I can kind of still make out the 5. So this is an 05, and this is the 83. Now, obviously, this is not clear at all. There's a different frame that says born, or you can clearly see it. This is just a photograph anyway. But I guarantee you, when they find this frame, this particular frame, then they will look for the other frames, and they'll know that it can't possibly be anyone else. So I think we're gonna have to wait until there's a new lead investigator. Now, a lot of people will be frustrated when they realize this information was on his desk the whole time. But these same people refuse to even, like Facebook groups, they refuse to play my video. I've tried to post it on there. They won't allow it. They're just as close-minded as this lead investigator. So they have no right to complain once it comes out that it was Daniel. And neither does a lot of people, because most people have been very close-minded. They've made up their mind that it has to be such and such. It has to be a woman. It has to be someone who knows Missy, or they've already been completely close-minded about this case. And so I don't want to hear that from anyone when it turns out that they find that Daniel was the killer in this case. I don't want to hear any criticism, because they've done the same thing. And so, all right, I think I've covered most of the stuff that actually, there is one other thing. Sorry. And it's not earth-shattering, but I did want to point something out that's kind of important. So this is a flashlight case, and you can see the bigger part of the flashlight is right here, and the small part of the flashlight. And this is styrofoam. And if you doubt me, guess what? Here's the flashlight right here. You can see the bigger end of the flashlight right here, the smaller end right here, and measure it. It's exactly the same if you go from the outside of the light to down here. It's the exact same dimension as the case that he's holding. Not a big deal, but it does kind of solve this this question of what he's holding, so it just shows that I've spent the time on this case. I spent a lot more time than anyone else. I can guarantee you that. Um, and and if you study these shoes, they're exactly the same as Daniel's. So, all right. Thank you for listening to me, and please spend some time with some of the stuff that I've showed you. You know, the four whys, or give it some consideration, because I know that this is Daniel, and someday it will be proven that it's Daniel, and you don't want to be in the camp that is completely closed-minded. All right, thank you.